Hello everyone, thanks for joining us at the Cambridge Live Experience. My name is Stuart Finney and
my name is Jenny McLeod-Collins.
Great, and we both work with the teams that produce all of the official exam preparation materials. So our session today, we're going to have a look at two main things in about 15 minutes. Or it would take about 15 minutes. In the first part, we want to look at the idea of catching up on learning and preparation for exams. And then in the second part, we're going to look at the longer learning pathway, if you like. So perhaps a year or more towards exams. And we're going to use this opportunity with you today as part of this live expo to share our tips, our materials and some resources with you.
And before we continue, a quick note that if you have any questions related to the session on our exam preparation materials, then please use the question and answer box. So not the chat, but the question and answer box, because that will be easier for us to find your questions in that. Of course, any other comments to each other, use the live chat, but if it's questions you want us to answer at the end, please question and answer box.
Yeah, exactly. And we've got a team in the background who are capturing your questions. So hopefully we try and address as many of those as we can at the end, which is, as you can see on the screen, the third part of today where we try and address some of those questions. Okay, so when we talk about catch up on learning, what we really have in mind here, as you can see, is this idea of fast targeted exam practice options for you. So you may be in a scenario now with your classes, with your students, where perhaps they haven't studied towards an exam that they were due to take in the summer, or perhaps before June or May or April. And perhaps now is a chance for them to catch up on learning as they look to take these exams or sit these exams over the next few weeks or the next 2 or 3 months. So the idea with this first bit is just to show some ideas for how you can catch up on learning, as it says, and some of the resources that we have available. And the first one really to flag here, of course, is our authentic practice tests. We have volumes of these for all of our Cambridge English qualifications and IELTS, as you can see on the screen. And if you're not familiar with these, then these all contain 4 authentic tests. They are available in classroom editions without answers or more self-study versions with answers. They include speaking test videos, feedback on those videos, answer keys that help to guide students towards some of the correct ways of answering the questions and so on. I'm sure many of you are familiar with these. These seem like a natural place to begin with our tests, and these, well, Jenny, over to you.
Yes, so this brings us to our first tip. So we already do have lots of resources available that are out there. And the first tip is to use and adapt these to help you quickly find materials for your classroom, whether it's online or offline or somewhere between the two.
Exactly. There's no point in reinventing a wheel, as we say. So we do have plenty of resources out there. And here's a great example of one of the resources that I hope some of you already know and already use. This is our Practice Makes Perfect teacher support site. And on this site, you can find examples from the books I've just shown you, the official practice test books. You can find examples of questions that we've taken from these books. So let me just show you one of those. Here's an example from, if you're familiar with the B2 preliminary Cambridge English qualification. This is taken from one of the speaking tasks, and you can see on the right hand side, I mean, you don't need to read it, but just to give you an idea, all of that material on the right hand side is all of the teachers' lesson plans, handouts and examples from our practice test that you can use in the classroom. And this is all available to download. You could use this, as Jenny said, this could be adapted for an online situation or an offline situation, or perhaps you might decide to allocate some of this to students in their own time and focus on parts of it in the class. So the idea here is to take tasks from our official practice test books and wrap lessons around them so you can really focus on the communicative aspects of the learning.
Which brings us to tip 2, use learners' errors for quick correction activities. And what this means is to help learners help themselves through error correction activities, which Stuart can talk
Well, exactly. Yeah. I mean, as we know, most mistakes from our learners are what we call common errors. And what I mean by that is they're probably common to either the proficiency, so-called level of the language that your students are studying at. So if they're studying towards a B2 first exam, perhaps, then many of their errors will be typical of the types of errors we would find at that B2 level. And the same goes for IELTS within different bands of IELTS that you might be preparing for. On the other hand, some of the errors may be more common to the first language that your learners are speaking. If you're teaching in a context where your learners are all sharing the same mother tongue or the same language, then of course some of those errors will be as a result of perhaps interference from their first language and so on. So of course the advice here, the best thing here is, as I'm sure you all know, is to use your own learner errors as sources. And these are areas you can gather from exercises you may have set for homework. If some of you are teaching online, there may be exercises that you've asked your students to do online. And this is a way of you gathering together those errors, addressing the most common ones and presenting them back to the learners in the form of maybe a competitive quiz, for example, something where you get the learners working together in small groups, identifying and trying to correct each other's errors. And you can do this as a competition. You can award points and so on. I'm sure you have lots of ideas for that. What we have at Cambridge, of course, is we have that exclusive access to Cambridge exam papers, which means we can gather all of the errors that are made by real students in real exam scenarios. And we put those learner examples back into our books. And you can see here on the screen an example of that with our very popular trainer series, which includes 6 full Cambridge exams, along with step-by-step guidance for the students at the first two tests. And these do include examples from real exams, as I've said. Here's just an idea. This is from a B2 preliminary level. If any of you are teaching B2 preliminary, used to be called PET back in my day of teaching. On the left-hand side, you can see lots of guidance and exercises. And on the right-hand side, you can see the actual exam task. And if we just zoom in on the bottom left there, you can see that this is the learner errors that we have taken from the exams at the correct level, B1 preliminary. And this could be a great place to start for teachers in classes. You can, I'm sure, think of many ways that you can make this a little bit more communicative in class, putting students together in pairs, getting students to guess the answers on the screen by showing one question at a time, asking them to focus on each error as you reveal each sentence, and then to correct each error. So this is a great place to start, sort of a shortcut, if you like. But of course, you know your students best, you know your classes best. So we would advise that you use these to support the learning, support the errors that you yourself are noticing your own students are making. And just one more to put into this space is our Exam Booster series. Some of you may have seen this. We actually made this available online over the last few months. But this is also available in book form, and it includes over 45 exam tasks for each of the question papers in our exams, and each exam task is visited 3 times. And this also includes examples from real student exam papers. So lots of ideas from the actual tests themselves for you there.
So our third tip, tip 3, this is to take advantage of the intensive courses that we already have. So if you prefer something a bit more structured with step-by-step practice throughout, then this is for you. These courses that we publish are perfect for getting students exam ready in a short period of time.
Exactly, and we're going to show you one right now. Many of you, I hope, are very familiar with our Compact series. And as Jenny just said, this is intensive. You can see on the screen, it's fast, it's focused, and it's really designed for those students who are, there or abouts at the right level. And what they really need to focus on now are the tips and the strategies for the actual exam. As we all know, to pass an exam, you don't just need the language, you also need that kind of help to how to address each type of question. And this is what Compact provides, in addition to a review of the language and the skills at each exam level. The great thing about Compact, and we'll come back to this later with some of the other materials we're going to show you. But as you're starting up classes now, or some of you are, some of you maybe haven't started up classes again yet, if you are catching up students quickly, we do have, as part of this whole live experience and our whole Cambridge Be Ready initiative, we do have support for teachers, including very comprehensive ideas on how to catch up on lessons using Compact specifically. We have a guide showing you tips and tricks for teaching Compact remotely. So in an online situation like we are now on Zoom, for example. And of course, we have digital tools that can be used on small screens for sharing, on big screens in the front of class, and likewise ebooks and solutions to take your students online or offline, almost at the flick of a switch, depending on what scenario you are in. And of course, that's what Cambridge Be Ready is all about. Okay. So just to quickly summarize up the catch-up learning part, we've looked at 4 very intensive, very important aspects of any exam journey, of any exam learning path. But these are the ones we particularly think would fit very nicely into this particular intensive catch-up on learning scenario. Okay. I hoped it was Jenny next, but I've just realized I have to continue talking. So apologies, you hear my voice again. So moving on, this is the second part that we wanted to look at. And this is, as you can see, this is what we call the extend learning part. And really, as you can see on the screen, we're thinking about a scenario where perhaps some of you are restarting a school year. You've got students who are going to be starting now or in the next few weeks. And you're looking at further into the distance for exam for the exam dates, so perhaps next June or July, or perhaps even later, depending on the length of your regular courses. And really what we want to show you again here is some ideas for how you can use more extended learning, bearing in mind that at any moment in these unexpected, exceptional times, we may have to change the formula again. We might have to go a little bit back online. We might have to reduce the number of contact hours we have with students and so on. So that's sort of our scenario for this section.
Okay, which brings us to tip 4. So first thing is it's important to identify your priorities for class time. So you might be in a situation now where you've got reduced face-to-face time with your students, so either offline or online. So it's very important to decide what you're going to focus on for this part of the learning journey, what you can do when you have got that face-to-face time, and then what your students can do on their own, in their own time. So, identify those priorities for when you've got your students in front of you.
That's right. And of course, as the official publishers, we have loads of materials that are suitable for this scenario. We're going to just focus in or zoom in on 3 of those today. And we'll start with Open World. Open World covers the standard exams for Key, B1 preliminary, B2 first, so those of you teaching those exams. And of course, it includes integration of exam training, skills development. But you can see on the right, I hope, that there's a QR code and there's a mobile device showing videos that students can access triggered by the QR codes from our materials. And this is a really nice example of a course where you can flip that learning model. So if students need to do something on the outside of the classroom, it's perfectly feasible, very easy to do with this type of technology. And of course, as you saw before with our intensive Compact series, moving forward, we have lots and lots of support, including advice on how to teach remotely, videos on how to teach remotely. We've actually got a link for this video that we can share with you in the comments box. But at the end, during the questions and answers, I'll also paste some of the links as well.
Okay, so next let's have a look at an example for those of you who are teaching younger students, primary age children. And this is our new 6-level course called Fun Skills. The next slide. Okay, so this is it, Fun Skills. Now this works really well, either as a standalone preparation for pre-A1 starters, A1 movers and A2 flyers, or as a supplementary course to another English course. Now, all of the characters in this course were designed by children themselves from around the world. I hope you can see some of them there in the covers. And it includes lots of fun multimedia. And you can see there on the screen, that's one of the video animations that pops out throughout the course. As with the other courses we've looked at, it's got lots of support for you, such as catch-up lesson ideas, how to teach remotely guide, and then digital tools to help you take learning online if you are in online learning.
And just to say, Jenny, there's also a link here that you can find videos about fun skills and about the character competition if you're interested, and we'll be pasting those links, I believe now, but if not now, we'll also paste them a bit later to you.
Yeah.
Sorry, and onto...
Yeah, and finally for young learners, as suggested in our, I think it was the first tip, do take a look at the existing resources that we do have available. This is a World of Fun website. Some of you may know this already. It's for teachers of young learners. Got lots of ideas and materials there that you can adapt to your current circumstances. Again, we'll be posting that link in the chat and summarizing them all at the end.
I can't actually see the chat, so it might be being posted in your chat as you're all watching this. If not, then we will pick this up at the end and make sure that you get links to all of this. Okay. Okay, so the last one we focus on today is mindset. So this is for those of you who might be preparing students for IELTS, of course. And if you're not familiar with IELTS, it covers or it aims students towards 3 different bands of IELTS. Plus there's a foundation course at the start of that cycle if you wish your students to do a little bit of extra progression towards IELTS. As with all of the other titles you saw before, this will include plenty of support moving to the year ahead of different ways of taking the learning online, offline, or somewhere in between. And there's also a new teaching guide which gives extra ideas for integrating the content of mindset into your classes. Okay, so lots of stuff. Mindset, again, there are links that we will give you for mindset if you haven't seen this and you're interested in finding out more. Or with any of this, of course, your Cambridge representative will have information for you, as well as our websites.
And IELTS brings us to our last tip today, which is direct students to their own learning resources.
Exactly, and this is, IELTS is a great example of this because of course we now, well I say of course for me, of course, I don't know if you're all aware of it, but we now have our brand new We Love IELTS student support site. So for students who are currently preparing for IELTS or who are thinking of preparing for IELTS, we've got loads and loads of resources and they're increasing all of the time on this website. This is just a little a quick show of some of the things that are on there, including video tips for all of the papers, blogs which include written tips and all sorts of other things on certain language points and so on, and a list of frequently asked questions about taking the IELTS exam. So have a look, show your students, have a look yourselves. And similarly for our other Cambridge English qualifications, of course, we have lots of resources available for students. You've already seen some of the ones for teachers, but for students online. And here's just a snapshot included from our partners in Cambridge Assessment English. We've got Writing, Writing and Proof, which somebody's talking about in the Cambridge Live experience, I believe. We've got apps for younger learners and other apps as well. So just a snapshot, but again, we'll post the links to our websites where you can find out more about this type of resource. So that was a very quick whirlwind tour of some of the materials that we think will be really useful for you, both in catching up in the immediate short term on exam preparation, and if you're looking at a longer term, but you're a little bit concerned about what might happen to your classes in the longer term with everything going on in the world at the moment. So now we do have some time, not much time, but we have about six minutes for some questions and answers. So Jenny, can you see the questions? I think I've got them here as well, actually.
Yes, you can. I've started taking a look, actually. There are over 40 questions, so right. We won't answer all of these in the time, but we'll try and pick out a few.
Yeah. I've got one straight away, actually, and I'm sorry I can't see the name, but it's a question I think is quite a popular question. Can we download sample exams? Yeah. The short answer to that is yes, you can. In fact, if you go to the Cambridge Assessment English website, you'll immediately find sample papers for all of our exams, including IELTS, I believe.
Okay. Someone has asked, is Practice Test a free platform? If you are referring to practicemakesperfect.cambridge.org, the website that we showed you, then yes, this is a free website. All you need to do is register, and then you can download all of the lesson plans for free. The books of practice tests, which we did pass through at one point, and obviously they are very good if you want to run through a real exam. You can buy those from bookshops. You can find information on our website, cambridge.org.
Yeah, there's another question here saying what's best material for preparing for the Cambridge, the C1 Cambridge Advanced? Well, hey, we work at Cambridge, so we're going to tell you the best material for preparing Cambridge C1 Advanced is the official preparation material from Cambridge. So have a look back at those tests that we showed you earlier. If you're looking for intensive, you can look at compact intensive course. You can look at the trainer practice test that we showed you earlier. Or you can take a look at longer courses if that's what interests you, in which case we would suggest complete advanced as an example of that. But there are many other resources. So the best thing really is to talk to a Cambridge representative. If you don't have one, then go to our website, which is www.cambridge.org, and you can navigate through to the exam preparation materials from there. Okay.
Another question here, does the exam booster have a teacher's version with answers? Quick answer to that, the answer is yes. There's both a teacher's version and a student's version. So you should be able to find that details again on the website.
Great, and for some reason I keep picking out advanced questions. I don't know why, but here's an answer. Could you please advise some apps to practice advanced? To my knowledge at the moment, I don't think we have a specific app for advanced, but just to refer you back to what Jenny's already mentioned, which is our Practice Makes Perfect site. There are plenty of lesson plans and ideas for teachers to practice particular specific exam tasks from that exam level. So maybe not the answer you wanted, but watch this space is all I can say at the moment.
Okay, scanning through the questions now, seeing what else.
I've got, is the compact book series available in Portugal? Yes, it's available everywhere. You can look at an online bookshop or in your bookshop. If you have any problems, again, go to our website and you can contact us through our website, or if you have a local contact with a bookseller or with a representative from Cambridge, then do please go ahead and get in touch with that person. But yes, they are available in Portugal.
There are a few questions actually. I won't read each one out individually, but asking about downloads of books and ebooks. And more of our books are being made available as ebooks at the moment, particularly due to the current situation. The best thing to do is to go to bookshelf.cambridge.org, the Cambridge Bookshelf. There's a Cambridge Bookshelf app you can download on the Apple Store or Google Play. And from those apps, you can access all of our most up-to-date ebooks. The selection that's there.
Great. I've also got a question here about our B1 trainer series. So that would be B1 preliminary, of course. Does it follow the new 2020 format? Of course, those of you who don't know, the key, the A2 key and the B1 have changed formats. They've been updated in January 2020. The answer to that is yes, they do. All of our official exam preparation material follows the new 2020 format. As the official publishers, we have to ensure that we update all of our materials to reflect the changes in any of our exams. Okay?
Okay, are there any other questions that we need to answer right now?
Seen some nice comments as well. Thank you for those of you that are using books like Fund 4 and Compact are a couple of examples that you said how much you enjoy using them. That's really nice to see. The right age to write Cambridge exams. Here's a question, what's the right age for Cambridge exams? As you probably know, we have 4 schools examples of most of our exams through A2 Key for schools up to B2 First for schools. We don't have a for schools for C1 Advanced. At the moment, the best age to take C1 Advanced, well, you know, I would imagine it would be a sort of young to mid-age teenage but that's something that really is for you to discuss with your students, with your school, how you want to approach that. But there's no reason why you couldn't take a C1 advanced exam. You know, I don't, as far as I know, it doesn't have to be a specific age.
Okay, I think we've covered most of the topics that people are asking about now in the questions, and we're pretty much coming to the end of the session. One quick question, someone asked about the Exam Lift app. That is a Cambridge app. You should be able to find that on your app stores. It's a good training app for B1 and A2 students. So yeah, do take a look at that.
Yeah, I hope by now you've had the links posted into the comments box, and you should be able to see links to all of those. If you have any problem with that, then please just go to our websites, which are www.cambridge.org or www.cambridgeenglish.org. And everything from resources to information about exams, to information about our books, to information about how to contact everybody, it's all on there. So do go ahead and have a look at that. And all the usual means. Of course, we have YouTube and we have Facebook and we have Instagram and all the other social media means of staying in touch with you. Okay, so thanks very much for your time in this session. We hope this was useful for you, albeit a little bit quick, but thank you very much.
Yes,
Goodbye.
thank you. Thanks for joining. I hope you found it interesting and useful. Bye-bye.